Well, Jay, I don't think we can hear you. Can you hear me? Hi, this is Philip. um, okay, looks like some people can hear me. Unlike Jay, I have really bad internet connection today. So we have like the perfect combination of the um, complicated people. Hi, Jay. Good to see you again.
Yeah, sorry about that. New equipment, and I pushed a button, and it muted everything, and I didn't think to look down. So yeah, um, everything that I said before you did not hear. So welcome, live Elastic user group. This is where I come and hang out with you, and we're actually here to talk about Elastic Community Conference, which is going to be kicking off early next year in February. That said, the CFP is out, it's live now. So I have Philip here with me, who is often known as the hardest working person in all of Elastic. And he's here to talk a little bit about that, but also to provide a little bit of guidance on what we're hoping to see in the community conference in terms of uh, who shows up, in what language are people showing up and giving talks, and ultimately what folks can do to improve the odds of getting their talk accepted. I'm not going to say it'll give you 100%, but it might give you a 10-20% boost if you follow all the steps. So Philip, how's it going?
Good, good. Just to keep up my reputation, I'm at a conference in a hotel now. So that's why my Wi-Fi is what it is. So I hope I stay with you. So reputation set. What are we even doing? February 11th and 12th, like last year, we are running ElasticCC, the community conference, and kind of like the way to think about it is that we want to run it a bit like the from the community for the community. So it's not just us speaking to you because you see plenty of that, but we are to a large degree looking to see you tell kind of like the Elastic story that you always wanted to tell. We want to see where you succeeded, where you failed, what you learned, what is difficult, what is easy. So I think it's not just like product pitches, but it's more about like the community and what you're all building and doing and where it's adding value. Potentially what we can learn, the pain points. So I don't think we want any talks that people have given before, really. We would mostly prefer new content. But on the other hand, any kind of content that is related to Elastic is welcome then. So it's not just like well-known speakers giving the same talk they have given 5 times or just the most entertaining talk. It's really more, I hope it's not impolite if I say from the horse's mouth, because you're not horses, but or we are all not horses. So maybe this is the wrong expression, but it's more like from the community and the field, just to see how things are going. We are looking for a mixture of more introduction to more advanced talks. We will have a good chunk for English talks, but we also have a couple of other languages. So a lot like last year, we will have French, Portuguese, and hopefully Spanish for the kind of like EMEA America region, including Africa. And then for APJ, we also want to have Mandarin, Japanese, and Korean. So any of those talks are welcome, and we have dedicated slots to have all those languages. I assume we will have a largely English-speaking audience here. So yes, we will have a single track for English talks. We will have 2 types of talks, like short and long. The shorter ones are 25 minutes, and the longer ones are the longer ones are 25 minutes, and the shorter ones are 7 minutes, including Q&A. And whatever you want to discuss is up to you, as long as it's relevant and interesting.
Yeah.
I think just to think about it, like 25 minutes is short, 7 minutes is really short. The way to approach 7 minutes, I would always say like, okay, there's this one thought or thing that you want to get out. and then you can build the talk around that. So it's more like one idea or one topic. 25 minutes are a bit longer. You probably can have a demo, you can tell more story around it, but 25 minutes, including Q&A, are also passing very quickly. And the structure, I think, for anybody's or everybody's sanity is very much like we try to break it up into 30-minute slots. So maybe you have 2 or 3 minutes more than 25. And then we batch the 7-minute talks. We kind of like batch together in a group of 3. So yes, it's 20 minutes if you're strict, but we also need some time for handovers, and then we'll do a shared Q&A. So we'll, again, like last year, batch into 30-minute slots. We will run. Did I just cut out?
You did for a brief second, but you're back now. I think the one thing in there that I wanted to make sure we throw out there is that the talks will be the choice of pre-recorded or presented live. And I think that there are benefits and drawbacks to both. Having given both talks, especially for virtual conferences, sometimes you want to be there to give the talk and give it the traditional way. Sometimes you want to be able to present video, and that opens up a couple of opportunities to do different things. Maybe your demos can be a little bit, better or tighter. I tend to do better demos when they're pre-recorded because I can just pause it, fix it, or instead of having to wait for something to load, I can just be like, all right, we're just going to jump cut to when that's done loading and keep going. So the choice is up to you whether you want to do it live or pre-recorded. That said, we do hope that you'll join us live. I know I got to MC some of the talks last year, and we asked questions. We had the community asking questions, and to me, that was my favorite part. That was the best part of being able to talk to someone who, whether they were presenting it for the first time or looking at it again, getting questions that maybe they didn't have starting out with, and it spurs new ideas and new ways to think about things. And honestly, I'm just excited that it's back. I had a blast last year. We got to play games. I got to interview Philip and answer Kahoot questions, and that was always fun. And that said, I wanted to make sure we give time to show people how they can go in and submit a CFP. So I've put it up on the screen. It's been up on the screen this whole time. I'm going to share this. I'm just going to put us here. I think Philip froze again, so we'll have him check in when he can. So once you get here, I'm not logged in yet. So the first thing that you're going to probably want to do is either hit submit your session. From there, it's going to ask you to log in. And you can log in classic, any of these ways, they all work. I'm going to log in with Google because that's how I log in. I'm going to hit my account that I use, and then boom, I'm logged in. So Philip mentioned something before about new talks. Like, we love new talks. We love new ideas for talks. One thing that I kind of threw in there was, hey, maybe someone asked you a question on a previous talk and you have, something that you've already created. This is a fine place to start. Hit the change button, hit edit, and then make a new talk based on some things that you've learned, some updates, or create a brand new session from the start. And you can totally do that. It's perfect and fine. I'm going to give some tips at the end of this on what I'm looking for as someone who reviews conference talks and what I'm hoping to see. But from here, you would just put in your session title. If it's not in English, please try to provide a translation so that some of the reviewers can get an idea of what's happening in the topic. Provide a little bit of a description of what you're going to want to talk about. Again, we'll cover this in more detail in a second. You're going to select your format, whether it's the 25-minute talk or a lightning talk, and then what level, what language. The tags are preloaded, so feel free to select a tag that fits there. I will tell you, if the talk doesn't fit any of these tags, that's okay. You just may need to think about the talk and see if there's a way that it can fit in those tags. I know that there's some talks that just don't fit, and that's fine. We'll review them and we'll see if it makes sense to have at the conference. And then, of course,
why tags are optional. Don't hold back because of the tags.
Yeah, please submit the talk. But I would say, if you're in here and you're like, My talk doesn't talk about any of these. Like, okay, that's fine, but maybe I should make sure that I cover something in there, possibly. And if you can't, that's fine. And of course, we have a code of conduct. Um, I tell people the code of conduct is actually for reading. It's not for just clicking and saying, yeah, I got it. It's pretty short. A lot of it is the same things that you hear. Even if you just read the short version part, read that part and say like, okay, I promise not to be kind of a bad person, and then check that box and keep moving. From there, you're going to add all this information. If you want to go back in, if you don't have everything at the first time, you can go back and edit these, I believe, right, Philip?
You can,
Maybe.
and you can edit actually until the CFP is closing. We might even open it further. The only thing is that the way we will build this year is that copy pasting gets very old quickly. So we are going to use the API of Sessionize to actually run this on the website where we display the final presentation or the final event site. So yeah. We will make sure that you cannot break anything in a weird way, but you can always edit.
Awesome. And again, the notes is kind of a good thing. I would say try not to put too much personal information in here because, as Philip mentioned, what you put in here may show up on the website. So if you say, hey, I'm talking about this talk and my address is this, I mean, if you're okay with sharing that with the rest of the world, okay, but we're probably going to also message you and say, hey, can you remove that? But if you do have any accessibility needs or anything that we can help to accommodate making sure that your talk goes well, basically we'll try our best to accommodate, as long as you don't need like a custom light show. I'm not really capable of doing that. I don't know where you live, so I can't provide that for you. But if it's anything else, technology, anything that we might need to help, we don't promise anything, but like let us know that you need it. And I can tell you now, if we know that you need it, the odds of you getting it are better than if we didn't know that you needed it. And because at that point the answer will be no. And then once you're done, hit that you agree, you accept. We have to share your data here. What you put here is going to be on the website, so we have to share it. That's why the box is there. But when you click that, you hit submit. That's it. And honestly, it's pretty simple. I actually like Sessionize because they make their process really simple. You can come in, you can check it. It'll tell you mostly it's either in review or down the road if it's been accepted or not accepted. We'll also send you a message and let you know. So make sure you don't have Sessionize email going to spam. But that being said, Philip, was there anything else that you wanted to cover on actual submitting the talk, like the
Mm,
logistics of it?
no, I think just one small note, like at the bottom there is this region thing, and we will use that to try to schedule your talk at a convenient time. So if you're in a different region than you put down there, we might schedule something that you might not like. We can always change it later on, but it will be easier if you're in the Americas, put down that, and so we won't schedule you at the very end in the APJ time zone.
And if you attended last year's conference, these videos, once they're done, they do go to live on our YouTube channel. So obviously, if you're not comfortable with your talk being on YouTube, that needs to be a thing that we need to know about. Um, I, to be honest, it probably will mean that we can't accept the talk because YouTube is going to be kind of a central part of our platform. But again, I just want to make sure that everyone knows about these things before they go in and then they're surprised that something has happened. But that being said, one of the things that we're doing this year is if you have your talk accepted, we're going to be working with you to make sure your talk is great. I saw this happen with Elasticon. I got to help with the Elasticon planning. And I'm so glad that we're doing it this year as well, where if your talk is selected, we're going to set up some Zoom calls. We're going to do an outline. We're going to, learn a little bit about your talk. We're going to give you some of the questions that maybe you need to be thinking about in your presentation, and we're going to give you the opportunity to even do a dry run with us. I don't know, is that going to be a mandatory thing, Philip, or?
I think we will strongly push for it. So to be honest, it's not entirely selfless. So part of the sessions, what we will do is we will try to create some promotional materials for your talk, and we will try to make your talk better. If you're like a very experienced speaker and say like, hey, here's my slide deck and I know what I'm doing, and we look through it and say like, okay, this looks very solid, then maybe we can skip it. But I think just having like a 5-minute call is maybe the way to go. Also, from my personal experience, I always find it like a major burden if I need to fill out 10 things and send emails and whatever, and then it's like, oh, I'll never do that. If I hop in a 10-minute call and they just say like, okay, I need these things and we do it together quickly, it's a bit more tolerable for me. And it's not like, oh, did I forget anything? What else do I need to put down? I think this is a bit easier. Also, I think part of that process is that if you're excited for a topic and you're not sure if this is good enough or whatever, just submit it because we will help you work on that. And I think one thing that we want to see is that people are more excited about the topic. It's not just like I built something and I'm here to demo it, but it's more like you're excited about it for whatever reason. And then we can probably still turn that into a good talk, no matter kind of like what else you think might be wrong or not interesting about it. It's more about like having that enthusiasm and not just like, we are doing this thing again that, well, we have done at work and I was asked to present. And it's just like, yeah, we can do that, but it's probably not so much fun to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a good segue kind of into the last part of what I wanted to cover in this little bit shorter of a live stream. And that is like what we want to see. And like, I mean, to be fair, I'm definitely nowhere near as experienced in getting my talks accepted as Philip is. I know Philip does like 360 conferences a year. He takes off Christmas and Halloween for some reason, but you know, other than that, he's constantly giving talks. So, in terms of getting your talk accepted, I will say Philip is probably the best person to get get your questions answered from. But for me, I kind of broke down a couple of thoughts, and the first one was very much like you need to be excited about what you're talking about. If you're just like, I'm doing this to fulfill the requirement, or I'm doing this because my boss is standing over my shoulder and I just need to submit the CFP, I don't know what to tell you, but we can usually tell who's excited about their talks and who's not. And just in general, your talk will be better if you're excited about what you're talking about.
If your boss wants to see the talk, send your boss.
Yeah, have your boss give the talk because he's, you know, they would be excited about it, I guess.
Hopefully.
In terms of Elastic specific focus, another good thing that I like to do is take a concept that is somewhat, I don't want to say mystical or like, you know, difficult to process. If you've figured it out, if you've been able to, you know, grasp how to set up machine learning, you know, on a single node, I would not recommend. Actually, I don't even think that's possible. I wouldn't recommend it if it is. But if you figured out something that was a challenge for you to figure it out, and now you've just gained mastery on it, and you're like, I can do this. These are great talks because I can almost promise you, if you've had a problem with it, someone's probably also had a problem with it. I would also recommend that you check out like our community forums and like hit up like discuss.elastic and see if there are problems there that you've solved. Because not only can you provide the answer there, but you can go into more detail in the talk and provide examples and provide good use cases.
And I don't think like expertise is not absolutely required. It's more about like that learning journey, and it's like how to approach this and how to move forward and make this work for your use case and how it helped you achieve a goal. It's not about like being perfect, because we just having super advanced talks is not the point here. It's not what the audience is like or what we expect from the audience. So it's really just about that broad spectrum of topics to make it appealing to a large audience. And we always have people who are very new. We also have people who have been around forever. it's still interesting to see like what is kind of like challenging for a newcomer, or what is easy now, or how could you approach this differently? Because sometimes when you have been doing this for a long time, you're kind of like stuck on doing it one specific way or from one specific approach. And that's not necessarily the only or best way to do that. So I think we want to have more this well-rounded, balanced approach to like, these are different points of view, and these are different views that help different kind of like segments of our audience. And yeah, like we said, excitement for what you want to show is good. Because just reading the documentation, anybody can read the documentation. Just reproducing that is not so interesting. I think it's more like, how did I make this work for my use case, or how did I overcome this problem, or this is failing and this is bad, which is also interesting. Yeah, excitement is what we're after, because virtual calls can be kind of boring, so we don't want that. Not more of that.
Yeah. I can definitely say I know a lot of the Elastic engineers are also watching this conference. Like, this is a great opportunity for them to hear some of the pain points and hear some of the things that they're, that the community is incredibly excited about. So when you show off something, even if it's something simple, if you show off some of the points where maybe this was a sticky point, or this was an area that you struggled with at the beginning, that's something that we can go in and fix. I'm pretty partial to the Python community, and I know that, like, coming up with Elasticsearch Python, the Python client, we are embracing the beginner with, type hinting and doing a lot of things that fix error correction in just being able to take advantage of what Python's kind of done in the last few versions. And I'm hoping that one of our engineers will come and submit a talk about that. If not, I might have to, submit a backup talk just in case. But it's definitely something that's beginner friendly, but it explains why we did it. And that kind of talks about another topic that I had, which was embracing new features. Um, I'm not going to say that if you talk about something that hasn't been talked about before, it will automatically get accepted. I will be more interested in it if it's something that I have not seen someone do a talk on. And usually that means something that's new. Obviously, app search, we have a brand new crawler. Workplace search is still very new, and we're learning the best way to present that. Limitless XDR is a thing. A lot of stuff with Elastic Fleet and Agent are stuff coming right out of beta right now. So not only would you be one of the first people to actually talk about these things, but it'll be the first time that a lot of us, even at Elastic, are seeing how people are using the brand new features that we've been working on for the last, year or two.
There will be plenty of stuff to talk about. We'll have some more releases ready for you for the event. So I think a beta came out of something today. So also an interesting topic, which we might cover in some detail.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about new releases and things, and I'm trying to remember. I think this will be around the time that 8.0 is. There'll be more 8.0 chatter, right?
There will be. I mean, we never talk about release dates,
Yeah.
but stuff might align or might not align well. But 8.0 will be probably a good topic, because, well, the beta came out or is coming out today. I think there was the blog post just came up today for the beta. We'll run more than one beta. There will still be release candidates, so there will be some more time for it to bake. So hopefully it's in place.
Yeah, and you are perfectly allowed to talk about things in beta. The one caveat with that is please mention that it is in beta, and don't show like production code in a beta, because you should not be using your beta for production code. That's kind of always my caveat there. Of like, new features are fun and you always want to play with them, but maybe give it a little time to cook. Philip, did you
Yes.
have any other topics that, any other advice or tips that make for a good proposal?
I think anything that you have done in practice, anything that you have learned or struggled with is potentially a good topic. And there are very few things that are kind of like too basic, because there is always your older you who kind of like struggled with that. So probably there is somebody else out there to struggle with the same thing. So I'm not too concerned about that. Last year we had some very good intro talks that had like the right liveliness and kind of like pinch to it, which was very good. So it's not just about like the depth, even though people are sometimes afraid of that, but more like what can you do. And sometimes it's just an exciting topic in itself, where it's a good story or a good use case. And sometimes it's more like the technical side that is interesting. So there are many aspects, and I don't think one is better than the other. We are looking for the right mix.
Mm-hmm. Philip, you may have cut out. You ended on we're looking for the right mix. So I agree that we are looking for the right mix. The other thing that I would add there is make sure that in your proposal you don't tell the entire talk. If you can fit your entire talk in that 1,000 character limit or 3,000 character limit, I think it may be good for a 7-minute talk, but then you've also given it to us. Because remember, everything that's going in the presentation is going on the website. So add a little bit of intrigue, add a little bit of I'm interested, I want to learn more about this. And if you do need to provide any special information, put it in the notes section. Don't put it in the description. That said, be mindful of the time limit. I will be honest, I reject talks that I think are not going to be able to meet that time limit, especially if it's a 7-minute talk. If it's a 7-minute talk and you've given me 30 minutes of content, I'm probably going to ask you to submit a 25-minute talk. And if you don't, then I have to reject it, because we have to maintain a tight schedule. We've got 5 languages, or actually more than 5 languages this year, and a bunch of different time slots to fill. So make sure that in your CFP you show that, I think Philip cut out. Make sure that you show that you can cover that time frame and you can cover that space. And then I had one more that I cannot remember because the whole back and forth with Philip. But I will say I'm excited for this. If you have questions about your talk, this is an AMA. So like if you have questions about if you think this will be a good talk or not, you can throw it in the chat. Also, if you're watching the VOD of this, first of all, I'm sorry for the first like 2 minutes where I'm just not talking. But then also leave a comment below and let us know an idea that you might have. I think it would be great to be able to help people. I'm going to let people know I'm planning on doing this at least 2 more times before the end of the CFP. You're back. Did you have any other tips? I had one, and then when you disconnected, I forgot it.
I don't think it's so much about like the tips. It's more about like you have like the unique story to tell that is new. And I mean, yeah, there's some things like how to write it or how not to write it. I'm not super concerned with that. Like, if your title is not great, we can rework the title. If your abstract is not so good, we can rework that. I think it's more about like that initial idea and excitement, and then a lot of the rest we can actually fix. And we will be able to tell like who has written a lot of abstracts and is very polished in that regard, and others who are not. But I don't think that's really the point of what makes a good talk or not.
Yeah. I will say I am biased if I see that someone is very inexperienced in their CFP. I will poke and prod and try to get more information from them, because I want someone to present for the first time. It takes a lot of courage, and you have to be really excited about that thing that you're talking about if you're talking about it for the first time ever. So I'm just naturally intrigued by that. So if you follow a template, I will notice. Especially if you can submit up to 3 talks for this conference. So if each of your 3 talks look exactly the same with like 2 words swapped out, we will notice and we will be talking about it, and your talk will most likely not get accepted. Please, again, we're not trying to get recycled talks. We want people to share new ideas, new envisions of things that are happening, new things that they've just learned recently and they're really, really excited about. That's what we're hoping to get from this conference.
And I think, or I see our role more as partners in the talk, that we're kind of like there to work with you on like the content to make it as relevant and like sharp for the audience as possible. And if something in your talk goes wrong, or if your live demo fails, since we kind of know what's happening, we can still hop on and ask some questions or just walk with you. So don't be afraid of that. That's also kind of like why we want to have like this dedicated person on our side to be like your partner in the talk, for that we are kind of like prepared for the Q&A, that we can also ask better questions if the audience doesn't ask questions, and that we can keep the thing rolling a bit more and the engagement up. I think that's kind of like very much what we want to do. Also, if there, Jay, did you already ask, are there any questions, or because we've been just talking and talking?
I did, and I also threw in there that, like, of course, if you're watching this later on, put a comment on the video. We go through the comments, we check them. We'll be happy to reply. If you have an idea for a talk, just submit it. Again, there's no idea that's, bad. Well, scratch that. Now I finally remember what I was going to bring up when you disconnected. Don't badmouth our competitors. Like, I understand what happens, and of course our community is super passionate. There's a way that you can say Elastic is great and what we're doing at Elastic is great and what you're doing with the Elastic Stack is amazing, without making it a sticking your thumb to whatever competitor we may have or whatever competitor you may think we have. That being said, like, again, you can show competitive sides without being rude about it. Again, we only have to say this because it's happened in the past. Also, if you are a competitor, don't try to sneak your talk in. Please be kind. I would say we try to treat our competitors with respect. So we ask that you do the same for us. Philip, got anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Like, if you submit early, there's a higher chance to get feedback, or to have more time to work on your talk. And I'm the worst example because I always submit in the last hour of a CFP. But especially if you're new to it, don't do it like that, because you might get some feedback. I don't think we officially promise some feedback, but we will look at anything that we get early on, and we will look at it and then say like, oh, this is great, or oh, let's reach out to figure out what this is about, or if we can tweak this a bit. So the earlier you submit, the better your chances are for that, because most submissions happen in the last 3 days or whatever. And then it's much harder for us to give you timely feedback and rework stuff. Though I never follow my own advice, so I don't know how to sell this.
Well, I will say that's why we're having this conversation before the blog post announcing the conference has even gone out. We're giving you plenty of time. We're giving you time in advance. And again, I'm going to try to do this at least 2 more times before the CFP deadline. So be on the lookout. As always, as I tell everybody, community.elastic.co is the place to go. You'll see it. It'll say, office hours for community conference talks and things like that. If you have ideas, bring them. If you have ideas before that, you can reach out to me directly. Usually my name is showing up on the thing, but I'm KJAY Miller. I'm trying to make it show. There it goes. Yeah. So you can reach me there on Twitter or LinkedIn as well. And you say, hey, I want to submit a talk. I have some questions. I've also said, if you're in an underrepresented group, I will dedicate at least an hour of my time to helping you with your talk, helping you craft the CFP, helping you craft the talk. That's not an Elastic thing. That's just a me thing. I want to see more unique voices and opinions out there. So yeah, do all of those things. Check out community.elastic. Follow me on Twitter. Follow Philip at Elastic. I'm just kidding. Follow Philip on his social media. And from there, we're more than willing to help you get your talk Again, we can't guarantee it'll get accepted, but to at least increase the odds. Any final words, Philip, before we wrap it up?
No, just because you said like the blog post isn't out yet, we just had the internal announcement within the company today. So you're here for almost the first to know about the event or to hear the details about the event. So we are like, it's not like in the official channels almost yet, but it's out for the community here. So use the information that you have.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this one. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter one, but we will be back next week to talk about Elastic APM and Python, which one of those things I know about. The other one I look forward to learning more and more about with our senior engineer, Colton Myers. But that's going to do it for this week. As always, for Philip and myself, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you around the Elastic community.